Okay, I will be doing small cleanup while we wait for 15 minutes, and I will link the repository in the meanwhile. The Twitch stream somewhere. Wow, it's like Twitch. Twitch. Where is the link? Where is the link? Oh god, it's horrible. The the title is just horrible. Not title, but the profile avatar. I'm changing it immediately. It's can't look at my face like that. It's horrible. Delete. Add again. Fuck. How long does it take for it to update? Come on. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Okay, 8 more minutes. So, guys, do you have any experience with Git? Of course, probably do. So, how do you use it? How often do you use it? And just let me know.
Well, I only have one project that I'm working on, which have a repository online. But I'm using source tree for that one.
Yeah. Well, it's just a UI tool which wraps Git commands, and I personally also don't use console, so I'll probably fail a lot, but bear with me. I would like to first teach about the console and then about the UI tools. And I kind of didn't make in time to prepare everything, so just basically from the basics, a little bit of history, comparisons, and all till pull requests. Has anyone worked on an open source project here?
No.
No. I personally haven't either, but I will try to explain how you can work with it, what needs to be done, and I will demonstrate how you start out, how you propose changes, and how you ask for those changes to be accepted for an open source project.
Alright, cool.
Okay, 5 more minutes, let's wait and we'll start. But for that reason, I need to look at this once more.
Do we need a like a project to open or not?
No,
Something to
this.
follow along?
Uh, did you see a link in announcements? I put a link to Twitch. So
Yes.
from now on, I'll be streaming on Twitch, and since I would like to be a bit more practical with how I present stuff, I will be using Twitch instead of Visual Studio because, well, it's just working with Git, so it's impractical to be using Visual Studio.
All right.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
I no, it's just something. I just have a feeling that this sort of lesson would benefit from, a more interactive, where we open our own open source project and learn how to contribute to that.
That's a very good point, and let's do that. Okay. In the end, let's do that.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I would also like it because right now I was thinking of having two accounts and switching between them,
Uh-huh.
but that's inefficient and that's a bit silly. So in the end, let's play with it, and it would be nice if you could share your GitHub repository. Is that possible?
Mine?
Yes, public repository. If not, it's fine too. You can just create it on the spot, some dummy repository, as that will be included in the tutorial.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just gotta see if my repository is public or not.
do you pay for Git?
No, I'm not using Git actually.
Oh, okay, okay. What are you using?
Bitbucket.
Okay, it's private by default.
Yeah, but I think you can set it to.
Yeah, you can.
No, it's public actually.
Oh, okay, good. Then we will try to play with it. I will try to ask, make a pull request to it. Hope it works. Okay, a few more minutes. Let's wait and we'll start. I hope a few more people will come. Uh, chat lesson. Okay. Oh, okay. I will also have this in slides. The steps, the things that you need, all the material that I told will be in slides. I didn't put, like, I didn't make it in time to have material on UI tools like source tree or uh, desktop, GitHub desktop, or Tortoise Git, but I will add those after the lesson. All right, I think we can start. So today's lesson is about Git, is about versioning systems, about how in modern age we manage our code. How do we store it? How do we work with it? How do we manage our versions, features? How do we work with changes? How do we fix bugs? And how do we work with open source projects? Because it would be nice if more people would work with open source. So maybe after this tutorial someone will start contributing. So in the past, you could say that the initial stage when the code was written was a really dark stage. Imagine when there was no internet. Code was stored physically. Then internet happened. That is fine, but then code was still stored in databases. There was no system for it. It was just raw bytes and text and pieces of code saved as blob files in databases, and it was just disgusting. Disgusting for people who had to work with it and manage it. It was really hard. Imagine when you make a change, you have to compare it. Of course, a really general tool for comparing files would be used, and it would be really hard to make changes, to manage code, to track versions of it. And due to that, lots of code back in the days were simply lost because it was hard to manage. Well, I don't mean that most of it was lost. I mean that relatively a lot. A lot, because a lot could have been avoided if it was managed better. So that time was a really, really dark period of time for source control, for open source projects, because it was simply impossible to do such a thing back then, because there was no platform, no space for people to collaborate in such a scale like we have today. So today we have code in the cloud with many collaborators, and open source is a thing. We can collaborate with other people, we can suggest our code changes, we can contribute to projects, because we have platforms and software which lets us do that at ease. Source control is a thing that lets us manage our versions of code, lets us store it in the cloud, and collaborate in teams together, or simply for personal projects to manage in the most easy way possible, in my opinion. So what is a source control? It's a standalone application which stores your code on the cloud, which keeps track of history, has versions of your code, and enables others to work with you in collaboration. It is great, and that's why it's the main tool of developer these days. Other than the environment in which you develop, a source control system which you choose is like a really important part of it. Let me open Discord. Okay, no questions. Let me look at Twitch fast, if in case anyone gave questions there. Nobody. Okay. So the most common versioning system is Git these days. There are other alternatives. There's, well, I only know one. It's this Mercurial, but I haven't used it personally, so I cannot say much about it. But Git is the most commonly used alternative version control system. So what is it? It's free and open source. It was developed by Linus Torvalds, creator of Linux, in 2005. So it's 13 years old now. It was designed for Linux, but it's multi-platform because it's available on other operating systems like BSD, Solaris, Mac, and Windows. And Git itself is available as a service on multiple websites, and maybe not websites, but you could call those hosts for Git. Hosts for Git, which makes it as a service. So more noticeable ones are GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, and coding. Actually, I didn't hear coding until today, but I made a research and apparently it was a more popular one too. So yeah. Personally, I have used GitHub and Bitbucket. I have heard of GitLab, but I haven't heard of coding. Uh, so this is a chart which compares a table which compares those four, and uh, it compares um, for free plans what do you get. So there is an obvious advantage if you would compare GitHub to Bitbucket and GitLab. GitHub focuses on open source projects, and that's why free plan offers you unlimited public repositories, but it limits private repositories for free. Bitbucket, on the other hand, focuses on a more personalized experience for free, and it lets you have unlimited repositories, uh, but more for a personal use. And those repositories cannot have more than 5 members, 5 collaborators. So it's great for school projects, but it's not so great for open source. And you usually have those two choices, and between those two choices you would pick GitHub if you want open source and Bitbucket if you want privacy. And then the other choice, which I cannot comment much about, is GitLab, and that one has an unlimited public repos, collaborators, and near to unlimited repositories which are private, except that the size is limited. So is for Bitbucket, but now looking at it, it looks like GitLab is the nicest choice of those in comparison. Alright. Uh, so now let's start working with Git. Let's try to do something ourselves to uh, version our code that we just made. So, like for every host, every service hosted by some provider, you need to make an account for it. I already have made mine on GitHub, and have 2 accounts right now, but I will use my original one. So we have an account for Git, and we would like to first create a repository. So I will go to this, and I will create a repository, a new repository. So I'll hit this plus icon, and I'll hit new repository. I'll name my repository GitHub lesson 2018, and description, whatever, doesn't matter much. Hit create. And you have this maybe intimidating window at start, but it's actually a really nice window. It tells you how to get started with GitHub, what to do, how to work on it, and the steps you need to execute in order to um, put your code to it. So what it says is this one is not needed. It what it does is it shows the contents of readme file. I don't have it yet, so it doesn't matter. The second step is well, the actual first step is initializing your repository locally, then adding a um, oh, sorry. This first step means you create a README file with this. The second step is initializing repository. The third step is adding the file that you just created. Then it's committing the file, and finally it's associating your local repository with remote repository and syncing your local changes with the repository. Remote repository. Master is the remote repository. Origin is your local repository. Um, Alright, so let's do it. And the slides say, if I look at the slides, I first need to, like I said, create a repository, install and open Git console. I have Git console open here. So the steps that I wrote, I said that I need to go to my projects directory. Okay, I don't have my projects directory yet. There are so it's a bit intimidating to use a console, but it's essential to understand steps and workflow and the stuff that happens under the hood when working with Git. Uh, because if you just use your UI tools, you might not solve simple issues. You might not understand the concepts and the needs and the things that you do every day when working with code. It's a really nice thing to know for every developer. So a few essential commands is ls. It lists my files. Files in the current folder. Two dots will go back. CD will go to a folder. Two dots means I go one folder up, so I go back. ls, I check what I have. Okay, so I am right now in lesson git folder, and I would like to create a new folder. So this folder will be called Git Lessons 2018. I can make spaces since I put the quotes, single quotes. So I just created a folder, and you can see that it is shown. Actually, it's a file, it's not a folder. mkdir is a command for creating a folder. So I'll just not touch, but mkdir lesson 2018 folder. I'll call it, even though it's redundant. So now you can see we have a folder. Now I would like to go to that folder. So I go to it with cd, and I'm there. So the next step would be initializing repository. So I do git init. So now in that folder, in Git Lessons 2018 folder, I have a .git file, which means it's a local Git repository. If I create a new file, and I create a new file with a touch command, or do the echo, I actually won't do echo because I never write stuff to a file myself. I'll just explore to it in the file system. source. So I am at forks, this, and here. You see the Git file, and I'll create a new file. Uh, Test file, I'll call it. I'll open it. My first file, I'll call it. I'll save it. And we have a file which is local to our repository, but we haven't told the repository that we want to store this file. So we need to somehow tell it to store this file. We tell it with a git command. Git add, and we say test file .txt. So to see the files that we have added, we can say git status. Not files that we have added, but in general changes that we made. So we see new file, uh, test file. So we have a new file, test file. Now, in order to name our changes, like the second step after adding our changes is naming them. So we call git commit -m first commit. So you say -m is a message, and first commit is the message itself. And we go now git status, and we say that we have committed everything. Note that at this point we still don't have our files in the remote repository. If we look here, code, it's empty. It doesn't show anything. That means we need to sync it with our remote repository, and we can do that with the next step. So we need to associate our local repository with the remote repository. Our remote repository is this one. It should have Git in it as well, not just this. This is just a link to repository, and this is the actual repository. Like a page to explore it in a browser versus actual repository. Git repository, that's the extension Git. So let's go here and do the command. So I say git add a remote to my origin, and the URL that I pasted. Note that Ctrl V doesn't work in console, thus you need to right click and paste the stuff that you put in clipboard. So now I say that I associate my local repository with remote by adding a reference to it. And finally, I can do git push -u origin master, meaning I sync my changes to the remote repository. It's working, doing something, and it's done. So now if I hit git status, it didn't really change, but if I look at this and refresh, you can see we have our test file, our first commit, the change that we named for the file that we added and pushed. So it appeared in this repository finally. So that's the most common thing that you will do, and that's the first step that everyone will do when working with Git. Does anyone have any questions yet? All right, so let's move on. So now we have, so now we know how to work with a single repository, with a single version of it, and how to do basic operations, how to add a file, how to name our change, and how to sync our change to the remote repository. So the next step would be learning a bit more advanced thing. Well, advanced for maybe someone who just works with his own projects, not in a team, but a thing which is done also on a daily basis uh, for the business, for professional developers, for people who work in teams. So if we go back to our repository, we see that it's a single branch. It's called master. So the main branch is named master. By default, when you create a new repository, you will have a single branch, and the name for it will be master. You can change the name, the default branch, it doesn't matter, but by convention, master is the main one. When you have changes in code, when you develop stuff, you want to always have a working version of your code, like as soon as possible. And you don't want your changes to break anything. And you only want to add those changes when you are 100% sure that they won't break anything. And for that reason, you have branches. So, what are branches? Branches are like versions of your code that you don't want to mess, or that you don't want to mess up. So imagine that you have a master branch. It is working. Let's say it has a client which has a register and a login feature, and then you open login and it's an empty window. And let's say your client, your customer, wants you to add content for the window that you open after logging in. So what would you do as a developer? Step number 1 is to create a development branch. Your code is working and you should move to another branch, not to mess your original branch, a working branch. So you first create a development branch. Creating a branch is basically cloning an existing a base branch, in our case a master branch. And in general, you always want to have at least 2 branches, which is master and development branch. Development branch can be messy, but keep in mind that you're working with other people probably, so it shouldn't be that bad. But when you work alone, and let's say you have a customer who wants you to deliver stuff, and at the same time that customer requires you to make changes, you should have at least those 2 branches, master and develop. So how do you work with it? What do you do? With console, it takes a few steps that are written here. So you first need to create a new branch. The branch that we're going to create is the mentioned branch called develop. So now we created a branch. We have made our branch, but we have not yet made any changes to it. We haven't cloned it. So we need to clone our branch. We need to push the changes from our uh, current version of code to development branch, because now it's empty. Uh, and we can do that with the same command, git push minus u origin, but now instead of master we write develop, because we don't want to push the changes to master. We did that already. We push changes to develop branch. So we do. Now we have basically made a clone of our current code version. We should switch to the branch we would like to work on. So essentially we cloned our master branch, and we would like to switch to our develop branch. So we do that with git switch, git checkout command. So we named our branch develop, and we switched. Note that it says your branch is up to date. It means that we just cloned it. So it tells us the status of the branch. So the next step is to add a new feature. I'll just create a file and I'll call it feature1 dot feature extension, because it's a feature. So we just created a new file. We should add it to our local repository, feature1. If I want to add everything that I have added in this folder, that I have changed in the folder, I can just click git add dot, means everything. So if I hit status, git status, you will see that we have one file pending to be committed. So I call git commit minus m new feature, and I say git push to sync it with develop branch. And now I want to switch with, which is checkout. So I want to switch to the master branch, and I want to merge git merge the develop branch with the branch I am at the moment, which is master branch. I want to get the changes that I've made. So I call git merge and say develop. And if I hit ls, you will see that we have two files. So now we have new features and master. We have develop and master both with the same files, both synced and working nicely. So this is how you work with branches, and this is how you merge them. Do you have any questions? Alright, then let me ask you a few questions. Do you guys work with branches? Do you do branching on your development?
No, not yet.
And is it because it sounds intimidating, or because you don't really find it useful yet?
It's neither of these actually.
So you just so why don't you do it?
It's because Well, how should I explain it? The code that I have, I want to. It's working, but the changes I do is mostly small changes and changes that I know won't break anything majorly.
I see. Well, the thing is that even if the code is completely broken in your uh, in your um, uh, main branch, I mean, in that case, you can have even a code that doesn't compile, that's completely broken in your development branch, because you want to always commit as soon as you have something. Uh, and I mean, when you have something working, you commit by default. But when your day comes to an end, you should also commit because shit happens. If shit happens, you lose code if you didn't commit. And for that reason, when something is not even working, you should commit it at the end of the day, like as a must.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I'm always committing after changes, yeah. But we were talking about using another branch.
yep, so the problem comes that when you have a rule to commit always, there is a chance that you will commit something that doesn't work.
Hmm.
And to
Yeah,
avoid
I see.
that, you could have a development branch, which can safely have code that doesn't really, not necessarily works as intended, but you don't break anyone, like you don't mess everyone's routine. Uh, but my point is a bit different. So there are 10. Imagine there's a team of 10 people and 10 developers uh, uh, work on the same project, so they all clone development branch because they are working on something that's unstable. Uh, so the thing is that uh, they all have their tasks. They all have to either add a feature or fix a bug. And when you have a task to add a feature or fix a bug, you should make a branch for it, which is a clone of development branch. So, it, like I said at the start, the bare minimum is 2 branches, but when you work in a team, you should make a branch per task. Uh, or you could be working on different projects which are not related, then it's okay-ish, but it's not that good anyways. So the standard workflow, Git workflow, is creating a branch whenever there is an issue, whenever there is a feature, and then as soon as you're done with your feature, as soon as you fix the bug, you merge it back um, to the master or development if it's something that you consider adding or removing and are not sure how it will turn out to be. So that's why branches is just an amazing thing. And there are many integrations, many backlogs which integrate with Git. Basically, you can create a bug report or a new feature task, and it would immediately create a new branch for it. So you don't need to do it yourself manually. So your your workflow would be checking out that branch and making changes, pushing them, and then going back to the branch you want to merge to and merging the features branch uh, to the to the one that you wanted to. Yeah. So that's how a clean development process should be. Now let's try to learn how to work on uh, pull requests. This is a learning process for me too. because I haven't worked on an open source project, and I was researching how to do it today before this lesson, for this lesson actually. So in order to contribute to an open source project, you don't really need to be some special person or do something amazing or have connections with the person directly who made the repository, who owns it, or who works in a team of that repository, of that project. It's much more simple than that because it's done through pull requests. Pull requests are basically your wishes and your fixes and your additions to an existing project. You basically say that you don't like something or that you know how to do something better. So you say that in a pull request, and with the pull request you make changes which are based on the um, pull request message that you wrote. And I am not sure how to do it through the console, or if you can do it through a console, but there is a decently simple way to do it in GitHub. So let's get to it. Let me check Discord. Okay. Uh, so um, the steps. Uh, the whole workflow is very similar to a workflow of making a branch, except that you make a clone of the whole project, you make changes, and then you sync the two uh, different projects together into one. For that reason, I will need help of one of the students. So can anyone link me their repository? Would be
Yeah,
very useful.
I have, I think.
Okay. So in the lesson chat you can post it, because I will. I'm in streaming, so I will show it in any case. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I see. I think you already linked in private.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I will use it. You can link it again in the lesson for the um, for others as well. So
I'm not.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not really. I gave you one link, but then there's another link that ends with .git.
yeah, I would like the Git one. Yeah, I really hope it works. So let's see. Uh, Git clone. So first I need to split this into a reasonable folder, because right now you see I'm in lessons 2018 folder, Git lessons 2018 folder, so I would like to move away from it. Now I'm in forks folder, so I will create a new folder and I'll call it knub fork. Knobs fork, I'll call it. I actually don't know how it will work with single quotes. Let's see. Oh, success. So now you can see that I have created that folder. Now I would like to go to that folder. So I will do cd to knobs fork and I will clone your repository. So clone, git clone, and and the link is the one I copied. Paste. Let's see what happens. I'm cloning your repository. Now I would like to make a change. I will actually first see what you have there. So you have a TCP server base library, okay? Alright, so I'll go there. I'll go to TCP server base library. By the way, you should camel case those.
Oh, yeah.
ls.
Good point.
Let's see what you have there. Here you have some camel case stuff, a solution. You actually have very few things. Is there a reason why you have so few? Oh, there's source. Okay, I get it. CD to source. I will not go to the source. I don't want to annoy you. So I'll just do something outside of it so you can clean it. I'll create a file and I'll call it please don't delete me. Actually, please add me. So,
Oh, yeah.
oh crap.
Yeah, so your Git Bash console is, out of the screen area that you're recording.
Really? You don't see it?
Yeah, so you need to move it up a bit.
Do you see it now? Wait, sorry. Do you see it now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, sorry. I thought that you see what I see. That's.
No, I wasn't really paying attention to the stream before.
Okay. So, Dutch, please don't add. Please add me. And dot txt, let's say. So I just made a file. So git add everything. Git commit git commit this is an amazing change. And then git status to double check. So we see that we have committed everything we wanted. Git push origin master. I didn't didn't add it as a remote, I think. So if we go back here a few steps. Oh, it lags. This step this one we didn't miss. This one we missed. Git remote add origin. Oh crap, lagging. Terribly lagging. Git remote add origin. And git push -u origin master. Crap. I messed up with the previous command because I had to add origin the URL, but it's fine. This is not quite how it was supposed to be. So I need to Ctrl C to cancel. I need to add this, I think. Oh, come on. Okay. To associate my current uh, my current repository with a new one that I am supposed to have for myself for my own changes, which is supposed to be unrelated to yours. So, oh crap, like, okay. So I think I need to do add origin to my own repository. So let me create one from GitHub. It was called TCP client. I'll just call it TCP client pull request. I don't know conventions actually for it. Oh god, so laggy. Actually, I don't need to write pull request because you'll see why. So TCP client, right, and let's hit create any moment now. Oh god, it's stuck. Okay, it woke up. So I want to associate my the clone of your repository with my own, the one that I work at. And I associate it like this. Though I don't know how to make a pull request to something that's not on GitHub rather than on Bitbucket, but we will see. Hopefully I can easily. I really hope so. We'll see. Okay, so I need to associate it. I associate it like this. Um, mm, mm, okay, and this. Remote origin already exists. Uh, pa, 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 pa. So what I'm struggling at right now is associating my repository with your own. Uh, Sorry, right now it's bound to yours, but I would like it to be bound to mine. So I would like to copy code changes to my repository and not yours. And I will add the steps in the slides as well because now I messed up a bit. So the problem is that right now it's bound to yours, and I would like to remove this. I would like to remove this. How do I remove this? I potentially have a hack for it, and I will forks this one, and this is yours. And I can delete this actually, and this will be mine now, I think. So I say git init. Now this is mine. And if I do this, I think I will associate with that repository. So now I associated it with my own repository. And last step is to git add everything, git status to see what is happening. So a bunch of files got added, and git push a git commit first, of course. A git commit -m message cloning stuff, cloning and a feature. And git push -u origin master. So now I upload the files to my own repository. Okay, so we solved that out, sorted that out somehow. Branch masters, etc. Let's get status, all good. Let's double check our repository, refresh. Alright, so now you see I have your stuff. I have your stuff, and I'll try to merge it to do a pull request now that I have your version of code. So step number 1 would be going to a repository. I actually don't know how to do it in Bitbucket, so it's gonna be fun. Let's see. So I went to yours. I have an account on Bitbucket in any case. Anyways, pull requests. How do I create a pull request? Pull requests. Pull requests. Create. Fork. Fork. Fork is actually what I need to create a pull request. Fork is actually cloning. So now I just forked your repository in my own, and this is my own local account as well, except for Bitbucket. I guess we can do the same on Bitbucket that we did on GitHub, because I am a bit confused. So I will have this also. Fork test. Actually, just very similar name, except 2 in the end. Actually, not 2, but I'll call it Bitbucket. So I will go back. Whoops. ls. So I would like to go to the other one. I'll copy the name because it's a pain to type. Paste. ls empty. Good. So now I'm here, and I would like to get oh crap, get this repository from somewhere. Clone. Where's the clone? I think it was at the top. Clone button. Yes. Okay. So I copy this. Git clone. Git clone. Git clone. Okay, I typed it twice. Okay. Now I have your stuff. Okay. So let me create a file. Touch new file .txt. New suggestion maybe .txt. Actually, first, like the other time, let's see where I am, what I have. So I would like to first go to that one. So cd tcp server base library. ls, and here I would like to create that file, touch change suggestion.txt. ls, you see I added that file, and now I would like to add my changes. I would like to commit my changes, -m suggestion, and git push origin master. Okay, so now it's here with me. What's my password? I messed up. Nice. And it's funny how now it's a different UI to input my password. What the hell? Argument out of range exception. Nice. Nice. Asks again. Okay, voila. Now if I refresh, you can see change suggestion was added by me a minute ago, and now I should be able to do a pull request. So when a branch is ready to review, create a pull request. I do that. So I forked your base code, your base branch, your master. And now I'm saying essentially, hey, I have a new suggestion, a nice thing to add to your already existing branch. Could you please add this? So I'm going to say, hey, I like what you have. Could you please look at my suggestion and implement it? And merge it with your code. And the title is suggestion. I guess title is picked from the commit name. It was named as suggestion and thus that. And so now I'm saying I have my local repository. I only have a single branch, master. And I'm saying, hey, Knobis, merge my master with your master. As you can see, it's near identical, except the owner of each repository is different. I forked his, and thus I have a clone of his. I made changes, and I suggest those changes to be merged with his code, so he can have those changes. And that's it. I can create a pull request. So now I made a pull request, and it's open, and if Knobis opens his repository and goes to pull requests, he should see that I'm suggesting something, that I would like his code to be changed a bit and merged with mine. So Knobis, do you see it?
Yes, I also got a mail.
Okay, and in Bitbucket, what are the options?
The options?
Yeah,
it's merge or decline.
Okay, so you can reject my suggestion or merge it. Could you please merge it? It will add a single file to your repository.
Merging.
Yeah.
And done.
Okay, so if I go back to your repository and let me do that. So if I go to your repository, I can see my suggestion file being that it was added. It's there, done. So that's how you can collaborate with uh, an open source project. And I don't know how GitHub works, but uh, if you see the stats of this repository, you should see that amount of collaborators is no longer one, but now it's two, because there was another person who added some piece of code. But on this one, I don't think it exists.
I have a stat called watchers, but that's only one now.
Yeah, it's a bit different, I guess. On GitHub, it says how many collaborators and contributors do you have. Uh, Collaborators, I think, are team members, and contributors are team members plus people who made any changes to code. So I became a contributor by uh, making a change to your repository that you accepted. So yeah.
I can see your fork though and browse it.
Yeah, I guess it's just a different way they present it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made a mistake as I'm also learning. So a process for making a pull request consists of forking your repository. So it creates a clone of repository on my repository. So I created a clone. And then second step, so I don't need to create my own repository and then somehow hack it and push your files to my repository. I can simply fork it. So I fork a repository. I uh, uh, I then clone whatever I forked locally, and then I make changes, do the usual workflow, and then I can finally send a message to you, a pull request saying that here's a change, accept it or reject it. And you as the owner accept it or reject it, making me either a contributor or not, by accepting or not, or declining. So that's how it works with a console. And it will be, I guess, interesting for Knap, because I am using Knap is using source tree, but I prefer to use Git, and I am much more comfortable with it. So now from the console part, we'll switch to uh, the UI tool part. There are several tools for it, and I am most convenient with Tortoise Git. Before I have used source tree, but Tortoise was more convenient for me personally. The same steps you have in the console, the same commands you can execute with a UI tool. And before I proceed with this, do you have any questions? Is it clear how to contribute on an open source project now? Nice. Okay, so let's continue. Same things. I have SVN as well. It's an older thing, but I need it for work. Anyways.
Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
I just noticed that while your change got added to the my remote repository on the Bitbucket, it didn't get added to my local repository. And I don't know if I need to clone, how I can add your change to my local repository.
On your PC, on your computer.
Yeah.
Just pull. Do a pull command. So I don't know. In source tree, you should have a pull button. If you right click.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yes, it works.
yeah, and you see it now, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I guess you always just worked alone and you commit, and you never need to have a different version. So I understand.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
that's cool.
It certainly is. Right. So the next step is working with UI tool. A ton more simple, but like I said, knowing how console works is a useful skill. And now, since we do, we can move on an easier way of using it, which is through a UI, which is through a UI tool. My preference is Tortoise Git because it nicely integrates with Windows. You can right click Tortoise Git or even commit immediately. So let's do something more. So I just say some hello world. Hey, hello world. Uh, CS. Yay. And console, whatever, dot right line. Hello world. We just made a file which is absolutely useless to you, but it is a change. And we commit changes with a single click. We select what we want to commit, and we say what we want to call our change, which is hello world. We commit, we push, we say okay, done. Much faster, probably something that I shamefully got used to, but yes. So there are a bunch of things that you can do. I mean, this has probably the same amount of features that a console has, but when you're very experienced with console, you stick to console, as sometimes a tool does not work as intended, and it's messy sometimes. Sometimes when things really go wrong, but if they don't, it's really nice to use. It speeds stuff up by a lot for trivial things, for common things, for things you don't need like a special attention. So we can do the same things. So for pushing, pulling, like getting an updated version of our repository, we can check a difference of files uh, based on different things. I can check the logout. So I can compare my stuff with the commit stuff, the version essentially of before. And here you see I just added a single line of in hello world.cs file, and that's it. It shows what you want. The difference, it should show actually, yeah, you see it highlights the line which was added. I can even go and commit it now. It's committed, it's pushed. I can modify this file. Uh, uh, bye bye world. So cruel I am. So save, git, commit, bye bye world, melancholy. Okay. Close. And if I go diff, nothing happens. If I go diff with previous version, I see this file. If I open it, I see, hey, this was changed, and I can clearly see what was changed by this tool. This is a default tool that Tortoise Git has. I am not sure, but before, I think when by the time when I was using source tree did not have a default tool for differences, and that's why I prefer this one.
It has now.
It
At
has
least.
now, yeah, I know. Uh, but uh, but yeah. Anyways, you should have a tool in your uh, um, UI tool for source control to see differences for changes that you made. Um, Now, Knop, uh, could you make a change, create a file in your actually, never mind. Uh, I will do it a bit differently. So let's go back to branching. I'll create a branch. I'll call it develop, like we usually do. I will switch to the branch to develop, and now I'll do one thing. I will yet again change hello world file by adding 2 lines, by first saying hello world and then saying bye bye world. Alright, save. I should close the other files to the left. Nope. Okay, close. Okay, git commit. The same commands except through a UI tool. So I commit to develop branch. Hello world changes. I push. Okay, done. Now the same steps go with UI tool. Absolutely the same. Except you do it differently because you don't use console, you use a UI. You switch to master and then you say you want to merge the develop branch. You hit OK and you merged. It automatically merged to this. Now, sometimes merge conflicts happen. So let's try to make a merge conflict happen. Do you know when merge conflicts happens? Knop.
Not really, but I think it's no, I think not.
Okay, let's go to develop branch and let's do a change. Let's try to make a conflict. Develop added this. Commit. Develop added this in hello world. So I essentially added a line of code right now. And I switch to master branch. And let's say another developer came and and hello world, and did change right after you did it, and he said master added this in hello world. So now you cannot merge this automatically because after you checked out there was another change. You made a change and someone in master made a change. Which change should you keep in the end? How the fuck is the diff tool supposed to know? It cannot, and for that reason a conflict happens. I think, I hope. So let's try. Develop master. Right, I push. So now if I go to uh, switch to develop, and I want to merge sorry, I want to switch to master, so I want it to be in master after I commit it, and I want to merge it with develop. Boom, conflict. It says auto merging conflicted, merge conflict in hello world, automatic merge failed. Of course it did, because it did not know which 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 line to keep. And I can do something like, hey, I want your which is developer changes to be to override my own, so I can choose either a branch as a whole to take changes, or I can specify which of the changes do I want. So I can right click here or here. You see, this is the line which is unknown. This was changed and this was changed, both one after another, and it doesn't know which one to pick, and it's afraid to pick it wrong. That's why automatically it failed. So if I right click while I'm browsing this in a diff tool, I can pick the change that I like. I am in master, and I say, hey, this text block is what I like, and you can see that now this is not a question mark anymore, and this shows the merged output for after the conflict was resolved. So if I hit save, it says that file has no more conflicts, and I can mark it as resolved. So I do. And now this merge conflict has been resolved. So I can commit. I commit because I resolved the conflict. I essentially made a change. I merged files from develop branch, but I made a change by resolving a merge conflict. So I commit. Yes, this is what I want, and I push changes and everything is done. You saw I can create a pull request, but I actually don't know how that works, but we can see if it's anyhow the same as the method we used with forking. So commit, push, awk, and pull request. A repository URL start. Master, a repository URL. I'm sorry, but I'll have to do this again with yours. Copy. It's already the fork. Actually, maybe that's the one I need. Probably not. I will go to yours. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay. I don't need git clone, just a repo URL. I hit awk. Let's see. Failed to create pull request. Warn, no match for commit. Are you sure you pushed the master to there? Cancel. Yes. Make a change. I don't know, and I'm experimenting right now, but probably I will not figure out how to do it without a tutorial, but I promise to edit in slides both the things where I was messing up and the things that I am trying to figure out now. Test, commit, push, awk. Any questions on Twitch? Nope. Okay. Create pull request, master to there. Oh, okay. So remember the pull request when I was creating, I was choosing the branch, my own branch. So this is my own branch. This is your branch, and this is supposed to be your repository link. But I still don't understand why it fails. Hit OK. I'm not sure. In any case, I could go to pull requests, create a pull request, my dashboard. So I go to that, my project, which is I'm actually confused. So I'm at the fork, and I should see your TCP library here. And why don't I see the changes? Am I at the which branch am I at? Switch. I would like to be in master. I am in master. I'm not in master. Was I not? I merge it with develop. Merge already up to date. Commit push. It should be there. So why can't I see this file on this one? TCP server library. Where am I committing? That's a good question. TCP library. Hello world. Well, it seems I'm in the right place. Why is this not showing the changes? Bugs and issues. Change suggestion. Because I probably should have synced with yours and clone it again. Pull. Okay. Already up to date. I don't know. I'm not sure why is this and the other one not the same thing. Not sure. Oh. Oh, right. This one was GitHub, and this one was Bitbucket. So I was supposed to be working here. That's why I didn't see any changes. So if I hit pull, it should say and update stuff because I was one commit behind. And if I check logs now, I should see something like you accepting my suggestion. Yeah, I can see that you merged stuff into master. So that's how I continue working on this. So I can just add stuff, commit, you create a pull request. So let's do it with the UI tool now. Let's create a new file. Test. 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 I say that I want to commit everything to master. Test pull request. I commit. I push. I say OK. And then I say create pull request. Create pull request. I say I want to propose my master changes to your branch, to your repository at master branch. And I can say send email to create. I don't want you to bother you. Failed to create. Again, no match for commit. Are you sure you pushed the master there? I think the problem now is that the name was supposed to be different, but I'm not sure. Can I create pull request right away? Create pull request. Pull request. I don't see it. I don't want this. Create pull request. I can find it. Let's crap. Some change. Commit one more time. I will fork of this. Not clone, but have this at least. But again, it's the same thing and should show up. I don't know. Weird. Test. Commit, push. Yeah, it's the same. I really don't know how to do that through through Tortoise Git. Anyways, I can do that through Bitbucket like I did last time. So this is my repository. This is master. I committed changes. This file. Again, am I in the right place? Bitbucket. I think so. Difference. Sorry, not difference. Tortoise Git show log. Yes. So I added this file and it should be here. Why am I not seeing it there? Why am I not seeing it there? Okay, now I see it there. The file that we added. So the same thing, pull request, create a pull request, and again I can do the same thing. Create pull request, and you can accept or decline. I will try to figure out how to do it in Tortoise if that's any useful, but it's quite simple through the host of Git. Bitbucket or GitHub is very similar. You first fork it and then clone locally the repository, work it as if it was your own, and then final step, when you're happy, when you're happy, create pull request, and it's up to the owner to merge or not. Last thing I wanted to say is, you saw we have a log. We have a log, we have history, and I can do browse repository of that version or revert to that version. So if I hit reset master to this, it leaves me with three interesting options: soft, hard, or mixed resets. Soft reset means that this version will remain. I simply move to the previous version. And if I move to the previous version, I keep uh, the version that's most up to date untouched. Uh, this makes the same change, except that uh, the 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 version that I go to will become the version which other people will check out when they switch to this branch. So if I check out to 9:40 p.m. commit, it will mean that that this is the head. That when people check it out, they will see a suggestion commit as the latest commit. And hard is really something that I don't know a case when you want to do this. You need to really mess things up. Hard reset means that anything before so anything before that happened after this, so those commits, they didn't happen and they get deleted without any way of undoing it. So hard reset deletes those. Soft reset just goes from here to here. Mixed basically says this one goes up there. So I don't want those changes, but I want to be able to go back to that place without messing things up. Or I want to go here and make this a head. Did it change? No, it did not. So I was a bit wrong with the with mixed reset. Reset index. Reset index. Reset index. Yeah, hard reset is useful when you want to give up on all your work, but it's a really really sad time if you want to give up on all your work, and it's a case that that shouldn't happen that often, and it's a sad case. I don't know the difference between mixed reset or what index refers to, because the only difference between soft and mixed is index, as it gets changed, resetted. So I'm not sure what an index is in this case. But yeah, the soft and hard are the main ones. Soft you can change, switch to a previous version without no really side effects. Hard, you lose everything. For mixed, I'm not sure. Ah, so mixed is resetting local changes, right? Like instead of dropping my commits that I had before, I just drop my local changes of now. Let's see. I see. So resetting index is like git remove command, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I can switch to those. Reset master to this. Mixed. Okay. Close. I'm back to master. Oh. Uh, okay. So basically, reset index undoes git add, which essentially is uh, um, yep. So you write foo with two O's to file blah, and then you add the change, and then you add another change to foo with three O's instead of two. I personally use the two resets, the the soft and hard as mixed. As you could tell, I did not really understand. Alright, let's wait for what Simvu has to say. uh, so let's explore the log a bit more. You can see the dates of commits, authors who committed. You can see even though I used this on a console and I used this on a client on a UI tool. So you have different names here because I had different display names set in different places. Even though it's a bit weird, but whatever. It's okay. I appreciate. I will add a note to a lesson in slides or for what the difference is in between soft and mixed resets. In any case, they switch to a different branch without really damaging your currently made changes, your commits, your previous commits. They remain. In hard reset, they do not, so be careful. What else? Uh, there is a clean command which basically undoes add, I think. If I click add to this file, git, why can't I add it? I'll just change the name then. Oh, there's one more thing that I'll talk about soon. Okay, I hit add. I don't want to commit, but if I hit clean, 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 clean up and clean. I hope it's the same. You can see remove untracked files. Basically, do a cleanup. Remove ignored files. Remove unmanaged. It's not the same as clean. I think git clean undoes the add. I think, but I'm not sure. Clean, 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 clean up. Revert. Save. Rename. Stash save. Stash save saves locally. It's like save local. This means Actually, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't save locally. Let me double check. I'm in this. So let me go to my own. What did I have? So let's change this to GG and stash save it. GG. And if I do a refresh, the file is actually not even here, so you just save it locally. I don't really use that at all. It's just something that you keep somewhere locally, uh, just to prevent messing up a commit. Like, you want to keep your changes, but you want to really have them in the main branch nor in your local branch, and you want a fast solution so you can kind of hide them locally and then return them when you want. Alright, so last thing I wanted to show is git ignore file. You won't be able to create the git ignore file through file system in Windows, as it needs to have a name, but that's how you write a git ignore. So you write a git ignore. There are two ways how you can do it. You can do it from your Git host, Bitbucket, or GitHub, or you can do it with a console. So I want to go to my Bitbucket console, Bitbucket project repository. So I'll go to TCP server base library Bitbucket. cd TCP server base library ls. Okay, I'm here. So I will create a git ignore file. And now you can see we have a git ignore. And it created us, since we created with not any console, not command line that Windows has, but Git, it gave a common pattern for git ignore. But we can have a better git ignore. One that let's say GitHub provides. GitHub generates us a git ignore based on the template we want, and I think that project was a project for Visual Studio, since it had a solution file. So I have a git ignore myself, and this one is a proper git ignore for Visual Studio to ignore the files that are generated by the IDE. So we would like those to be ignored. And this finally will be an actually good pull request. Okay. Added. What? Missing. Added. I don't see it yet. It's added. It's a bit confusing. I don't know. Anyways, git ignore added. Git ignore for Visual Studio. And another thing that we changed, cleanup. Those are I actually don't know where this comes from. Okay, commit. Removed, not passed, fable, unable to process path. Okay, so this one got messed up. I just want to remove it. It's messed up. You can remove it, no side effects. Git ignore for Visual Studio and cleanup. Push. Okay. Password. Okay. So now the actually decent pull request. Hey, I saw you didn't have a git ignore file. It would be nice to have one so you don't have to commit files that are generated. And I suggest this to Knobis, so Knobis can accept it or not. If I go to pull requests, you will see that it's open, declined, merged. One is open, one is merged. And yeah, it's up to Knobis to do what he wants with it. He can reject or accept, doesn't matter. But that was my suggestion, that was my contribution to his project. And I think that's about it. Everything that I know about Git, I basically told. Do you have any questions?
No, not really.
Did you learn anything new?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
At least I learned a little more about the process of, collaborating.
Yep. Me too. So that concludes today's lesson. I hope it was useful and you will apply something that you learned today in the future.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you for coming. So this probably concludes the series, and I don't know if I'll reset it or I'll move on to something else. I haven't decided yet. This might I might continue on.
You mean the OOP
Yeah.
series?
I
Alright,
could restart OP or go to design patterns.
Yeah, it's probably good to have both on that, I guess.
It could have what?
Yeah, a vote or something, a poll. So people in the server can request.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you should ask the community.
Yeah, that's true. And I think since many want to learn from scratch, it's and since we have Twitch now, which is much more accessible than YouTube. I mean, much more convenient to watch something live than YouTube. Yeah, it's better. Okay, that's it for today.
Alright.
Thank you for coming and see you next time.
See ya.